You guys, hi.
Hi.
Sorry about the trouble. All right, guys. Thank you for all you do. Again.
Yes, sir, again.
Hi, guys.
Hey, what's happening?
Hello.
Shame! Shame! We saw you vote. Shame! Vote to harm our community. We are coming to get you.
You don't know the words that
Right.
I've done. Big legislation. As a whole. Would you do me a favor? You put your hand down because I'm speaking very respectfully to you. Okay?
You shut
Anyway, guys, I can do the conversations that I can hear, or I can invite you up to my office a few at a time to talk. What's happening now is you're having people taking advantage of the fact that I'm not able to be in the district because I'm doing the work that I signed up for. And when I'm not here to address the masses, you have advocacy groups that have taken advantage of this time, and they are disinforming my community. They are not explaining to people the process, they're not explaining to people the work that I've done, and they are campaigning for their own agendas right now. And at some point, these advocacy groups are going to be held liable for the disinformation. This is not only affecting our community, as you see, there's people being angered more and more every day. This is also affecting our children. You have children that are cutting themselves, attempting suicide, because they actually believe the information that's being presented to them, because it's not complete. I went out there to have a conversation. I waited patiently. I'm not going anywhere. I'll give them some time to settle down, and I'll go back down and see if anyone would actually like to learn about my experience in Tallahassee, the things I've been working on, the great achievements that I've been a part of, and see if I can get people to come together. I mean, I'm here to do this. I have no personal gains in this matter, but to make people come together again and do right by my communities.
You mentioned the work that you've been doing in Tallahassee, some of the things they've been sharing, including your voting record on voting yes to support 1069, which went into law, House Bill 1069, and also on the subcommittee 1423, which the community out there feels like it's attacking drag shows, attacking their community. And you voted yes on two bills that they feel is targeting their community. But you say you support them, or what is your take when you hear something like that from the people out there who are not happy with your voting record as it stands right now?
I understand that they're not fully understanding the message because they're being given the wrong message. The work that I've done up there, first off, if you all remember, I campaigned on rewriting the Parents' Rights in Education bill. And I don't know if you've had a chance to read the bill. I do encourage people to read the bills. Lines 97 to 101. They lent to interpretation some sort of targeting towards a community that I love, I live among. First thing I did when I got there is I made sure those lines were taken out. They have been rewritten. They no longer address a specific community as a separate community. It's all students, all teachers. We are one community here. And that message is very well represented in that. I did what I said I would do. In order to get the participation in working on bills that are not yours, you need to see them in committees. They get 3 committee stops. You vote them forward with the agreement that you're going to be participating in the language. Now, the bill on drag queens, if you've seen any of my social media, any of my messaging, I think that I've been protecting that industry. Drag queens have been around long before many of us, for centuries. They're part of our history. And I think there's a lot of agitators and activists that have been, giving that industry a bad name. There's a lot of provocative and inappropriate adult level stuff that's happening in front of children from people who just are trying to get attention and make a name for themselves. And I think it's about maintaining a civility in our communities, a PG-13 level of appropriateness when you're dealing with our children. And I think that all members of our community should be loved, seen, heard, and celebrated.
Representative, some people would say that the Pride event this weekend would be harmed by this kind of bill because children would be able to attend. And let's say like rated R movies, a parent can choose. So if like it's a matter of choice, like why not let people, continue with their Pride events or with drag shows and let parents choose what's appropriate?
This isn't about your sexuality in this community. It's about sexuality as a whole. There's a venue for adult entertainment, and that's nudity. Explicit nudity. And I haven't seen that in the Pride parades, and I've been in them for several years in a row. I mean, you've all seen me in these parades. I think what's hurting the LGBTQ community right now is this travel ban, this fake travel ban that was put out there by an advocacy group called Equality Florida, telling people not to come. That's hurting all of our businesses. Why would you do something like that? I'm surprised that the business community isn't holding them financially liable for the losses of revenues if they're affected. Everyone who wants to come live, work, and play responsibly in these beautiful cities that I represent are more than welcome.
Do you think the bill in the subcommittee that you worked on in 1423 is too vague? It says targeting, I believe, somewhat like risque events. I don't think it specifically says drag shows, but risque events. It could lead to jail time and fines, and how does that even get determined in terms of what constitutes as a risque event for a child? And the community out there feels they're going to be directly targeted by this and could face jail time for a bill that says risque events.
I think that non-gay performers will have the same consequences. I think that while you mention legislation is sometimes left up to interpretation, I declare that's exactly the problem. And as adults, we have a responsibility to interpret these things in the best interest of our prospective communities and our communities collectively as a whole. That's not what's happening.
Are bikini shows on the beach, say, too risque for children too? Will those have to be banned? If there was, say, a bikini event or bikini show.
I'm going to have to answer that by asking you first if you've read the bill in its entirety.
I've read the majority of the bill, and it targets risque events. So would a risque event include women
Somebody
in
appropriately
bikinis?
arriving in a swimsuit is not risque. Somebody having, maybe if they're not on a topless beach, becoming topless in an area that's not meant for them. I mean, you can interpret this in any way that you want, but you shouldn't. Interpret
I'm
things
not
in
asking,
the-
I'm just asking for
you're
your
asking the
interpretation.
question.
I'm asking your
My interpretation is that we are dealing with adults. We are dealing with people that own businesses. They're obviously successful. I think they understand what they need to do what's proper and correct in protecting our communities. And if it's a question about preserving innocence of children, I think that's something that we all share in common.
When you say, I'm sorry, but when you say activists, drag activists, and people taking out of hand, can you name any examples of this happening?
Well, I happen to know a lot of drag queens, and I've mentioned that in my committee speech. I don't know if you all watched my speech. And the one thing they tell me is if I'm in drag, I'm getting paid. They're out to perform. These are glamour girls, and they put on a great show. And then there are some that maybe are not so successful, so they're trying to make a name for themselves, and they might be getting paid by either these advocacy groups that bring protesters. There's a lot of people that storm the Capitol constantly, and I've been able to pull some of them aside on different issues, and I've asked them if they're volunteering, if they're somehow getting compensated, whether it's food, clothing, whatever it is. There is some sort of transaction. It's not that people can actually afford to spend their days campaigning for something that they're not even knowledgeable of. People are being misinformed and redirected, and this is targeting all of us.
Would you say we need to bring up SB 300 because your website, says no, you're against extremism, but that bill eliminates, or that law now eliminates abortion before most women know they're pregnant, and there are a lot of amendments that you voted against, and you didn't vote on the measure. Can you talk about that since they brought it up? Why didn't you vote?
I'm glad you asked me about that because I think it's a very important topic. Since I got elected, I worked tirelessly on protecting women's rights and giving them a choice. I am not for extremism, and I went to the Democrats and I asked them, here's a proposal that I worked on. I've got Planned Parenthood's approval on this. They say that this works. They literally said this works for us. 12 weeks with exceptions. There's a few exceptions that were reasonable. They were not obstacles. It works for them. And I said, why won't this work for you? And some of them, they actually personally were interested in this. This was an opportunity, but collectively, as a caucus, as a brand, they're not able to vote for that. I don't believe that the Democratic Party not the Democrats individually, but the party as a whole, is able to be pro-choice. They can only be pro their extreme ideology. Because once they realize what we've done with our public safety efforts in this bill that's been falsely named permitless carry, when I teach everybody how those resources come back to these districts and help us teach the consequences of guns, they won't have that so much to campaign and fundraise on. Once they realize and they read the final drafts of these parents' rights and education bills, and they realize that this is not about targeting a community, they're not going to have the gay community to manipulate anymore. All they've got left to fundraise on is abortion, and I find that really offensive.
But you can't pick and choose what's in the bill, right? I've spoken to other Democratic leaders, when you talk about the permitless carry bill, they support some of the measures in the bill, but not others, so therefore they can't vote for the entirety because you can't pick and choose which segments you like about the bill. You say you're for pro-choice, but when you go to this abortion bill, it almost eliminates that. So you say you're for it, but you vote for a bill that essentially...
I didn't vote for the bill.
Well, right, you abstained from it. So why would you abstain from it?
I abstained for the bill
But you voted
because
no on 50 amendments. Let me be clear, 50 amendments.
the amendments came on the floor.
Okay.
And those amendments came on the floor too little, too late. The Democrats do not get to come in with a Hail Mary at the last minute without doing any of the work of compromise and coming towards a common sense center, and then try to grandstand on these amendments on the House floor. That's their stage. The work has been done before it arrives there. And I find it entirely manipulative and deceiving and disrespectful how they conducted themselves.
So you're saying once it gets to the floor, at that point, once it's worked its way through the committees, even though all members of the Democratic Party aren't in those committees, that they shouldn't be pushing forward amendments because it's too late? Or can you walk me through that thought process?
Once you get to the floor and after all the committee meetings, you kind of already know where you're at.
But not all politicians within each individual
It's not
party
about
don't
falling
have...
in party lines.
Okay.
People have made their own personal decisions on where they stand on the issues. And this, for me personally, I was not about to give the Democrats a vote on this one. Not on this. Not on this bill. They had a responsibility to Florida and to our women globally to do something right here. This could have been something that sent a message across the state and really been an effort to bring people back together. And I think they failed.
Could you have voted no if you don't support the bill?
Voting no means that I am voting against the majority. And the majority is the only party that came to the table to do the work. So why would I vote against people that were willing to meet halfway and give my vote to people that were not willing to budge, not for a second?
Wouldn't you're saying that it's almost being politicized and misinformation, but isn't that almost kind of petty in itself by saying, oh, I'm not going to go with that party because they didn't come to the table? It comes down to potentially women's rights. So isn't that just a bit petty by not wanting to basically do that because of it looks bad? Sort of.
I don't believe so. I'm being respectful of life, and I'm going to vote on abortion absolutely once, when it's right. I'm not going to be trading every year after year on different campaigns on this. I'm going to do what I think is right and the best representation of the district, and for my conscience and my integrity. I'm not going to vote on it year after year because it's a little more right on this side and a little less right on that side. It's not right where it's at.
But the only reason why I'm asking this because you've told me in communication,
I
but
was,
also to
I
voters.
was deeply offended. I was deeply offended. This was my response to their unwillingness to work.
No, but I'm saying is that you said you're pro-choice. You told people, voters are going up to vote. You said you made it very clear you were pro-choice. So don't you see how this is kind of turning that around and saying basically not saying you're pro-choice?
I'd say
Is
pro-respectful choices. And I believe that we are not being respectful of life at this moment. I think there's a lot of work that still needs to get done.
But what do you mean when you say respectful of life though? Because you said you're pro-choice up to 12 weeks. This is 6 weeks.
I'm up to 12 weeks right now because that's where I was told works. Historically, 97% of abortions happen in the first trimester. I'm going with the data. 3% happen after that. This is Planned Parenthood data.
You're saying up to
And
12
those
weeks, this is limiting that. So you can't even have that opportunity for the 12 weeks. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
Right now,
Sorry.
I'm glad that there is some choice right now. You need to all recognize that there was a point that we were facing a total ban, which I don't think was right either. And the Republican parties are the only ones that came to the table to offer some sort of a choice. And I don't think that we are where we need to be yet.
Well, there was already a choice. There was a 15-week. They went to be more restrictive. I mean, just to be clear about that, there was already a measure in place that's being discussed at the Supreme Court level. But they were trying to lessen it from 15, now it's to 6. So you're still saying there's a choice, even though they already had a solution in place for that, for the abortion?
It was not my bill. I did not propose it. I
Okay.
worked hard with the Democrats to see if they could propose something that could be the right choice for us, and we are not there yet.
Fair. Back to the education bill, there's a part in it where it says, if I'm not mistaken, and I know you were part of the process in terms of understanding and choosing this path forward, but that if a child wants to refer themselves of a different pronoun than, say, their birth sex, a teacher can't call them by that pronoun that's in the bill. Do you think that portion of the bill is right? To restrict teachers in a way to refer to a child who wants to be referred to a certain way?
That is not how I, as an adult, interpret that phrase.
Okay.
There is no prohibition on speech. This is
Okay.
this is America. I believe in the Constitution, and freedom of speech prevails. This is simply saying that if a teacher is not prepared, you have to realize in our classrooms right now, and come to my elementary school in Miami Beach, Feinberg Fish Elementary, we have 17 classrooms out of commission for years. Don't know where that money went. It was absolutely allocated. Now, no classroom, no teacher. Those kids are now doubled up in another classroom. These classrooms are doubled in size. We all know that teachers don't get paid enough. They have double the workload. They have a hard enough time learning the names on the birth certificates that these students are registered in school with. Now they have to learn people's preferences, which change regularly. That's 3 to 7 pronouns on average per student. If they are not comfortable or not prepared to, which I haven't heard that from much teachers, but if it has become a problem, this says that they may not and it will not affect their tenure. They get to keep their jobs if they get it wrong, as far as addressing somebody in a pronoun that they might not understand or even agree with. It protects our teachers, and it's time we started doing more of that. And it also allows our children to be as free as they like on campus, according to their school rules, but legislation is not taking their rights away. It is saying be who you want to be. If you need to talk about something, talk about it. As the adults, the paid educators that are working on campus, they have a responsibility to do their job, which is educate our kids. Our literacy rate is down. Our kids are not learning as they should. There's a lot of distractions going on right now. And if a teacher wants to have a personal, connection with a student and talk about issues, whether it's displacement in their community or displacement within their own bodies, they have every right to do that. At the same time, if they don't want to do that, they don't have to. And there will not be consequences affecting their jobs with that. They can just refer them to someone who's capable. We don't have counselors on our schools that have a master's degree in child psychology or early child development. Why is that? Why are we spending so much money on the distraction instead of the cure?
I've read the bill, and it says pretty clear that a teacher can't use a pronoun.
It most certainly does. It's a may not. There's a difference between the may, the can, the prohibit,
if it
and the
does
shall.
not match, if the pronouns do not match the person's sex.
They may not if they wish not to. It's I'm not happy that language in legislation is vague. I'm not happy with it. It has given birth to advocacy groups on both sides, and they make their money on the campaign. And I'm expecting my community that gave me this opportunity to hear what I have to say, to think for themselves, do their own work, and get to the bottom of these issues. My goal is to bring people back together. We've got to educate people, even if it's re-educate people. And we've got to take a stand against these advocacy groups that are just corrupting society. This is wrong. And I'm going to go back out there and I'm going to see if anyone wants to have a conversation. Right now, all they know is what they were told by the leaders that organized them here, all of which have political ambitions. I don't. All I do is show up for my community. I'm here with no personal investments in this community other than my private residence. I have no business investments. I am here out of pure love for the city that I've raised my son in and for the people that I've grown to love, that I consider family. So to come here and have people, some of whom don't even live in our district, in an organized manner by activists is truly offensive. And I'm going to be at that parade, and I'm going to hope that my real community is going to be there standing proud next to me, beside me, in front of me, behind me, to celebrate the diversity, the unique culture, and all the opportunity that this city has to offer. Thanks for coming out. Were you here for the whole thing, or did you just get here?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I didn't want to leave you guys and you want to chat about it. Where do you live?
I'm in Hong Kong.
Okay. I'm not even my voter.
I'm in Pompano Beach, but I care, and I know a lot of
I
know
care
that
too.
I'm deeply invested in this.
Okay. Me too. I think a lot of the problem is the disinformation right now. I've been in Tallahassee since I got elected. I moved up there so I can run the same kind of campaign I did here, make sure everybody knows who I am, and then I'm here to get shit done. No ties. I worked on the Parents' Rights in Education bill. I took 917. Want my number? 917. Lines 97 to 101, as I promised, are gone. And please, we have a responsibility to interpret these laws in the best interest of our collective community. Just let me do what I campaign to do. I have no personal interest, no business interest. Give it some time. While I'm up there, there are people taking advantage of the fact that I'm not here to be able to connect and speak with you. So give it some time if you're able. And I hope you are. Just give me time. When I'm back here full time, I will have town hall meetings, and I am open to all of you. I was coming down to invite you up to my office if you'd like to have a conversation. You don't seem amenable to talk, but you do, so I appreciate that. If I can get one a day, it does make a difference.
To be honest with you, I'm just disappointed you didn't vote because
I explained the rules state that I cannot vote anything but for or against. So my statement was I will not vote until it's right to represent all three. What you're missing is I'm trying to hold the left side accountable.
No, you're
Those
trying to play
32
both
members,
sides so you can
sir,
appease
I can wait
everybody.
and let you speak.
No, I have a right to talk.
I just
You're
gave you the
playing both
floor.
sides. You're playing games
It's not a game.
because you don't want to. No, we all know
I'll
what
let
you're
you finish.
doing.
Let me know when it's my turn.
No, go ahead.
Sure. What I'm doing is I am putting some pressure on that side to work together.
Really?
Because you're not there, sir, so please let me do what I came to do and give it a chance. Or don't, but just don't be in the way of me getting the right information to people. Let me finish what I came here to do and come back and explain it to everybody. What else? What do I have to gain? Why else would I be doing this?
I'll see you on Sunday.
I will see you on Sunday. Try not to ruin the parade.
No, I mean,
Is he with you?
No, I just met him.
What's your name?
JC, how do you do? Nice to
David.
meet you.
What's your
And
name?
I'm Sam Phil.
Fabian. How are you? Thanks for staying a little longer.
No.
Would you like to come up?
I appreciate.
It's hot out here. You sure?
That's funny. No, I will agree with you on that. It's hot. Nice meeting you. You know what's funny? That's what he was saying. He goes, I got me that. I am Sam Feldman.
It's a pleasure.